TGIF. TGIF. Welcome everyone. The long-awaited chat is about to go down. So today I have a very interesting conversation, and I'm most honored to have my guests who I'm going to bring up pretty soon. He has sent me a request to join already, and I'm welcoming every one of you. How has work been this entire week? This represents the first working week for a lot of people, while a few people resumed on the 3rd of January. Most others did on the 8th of January. How has the first working week been for you? Waving right back at everyone who's joining me already. Thank you for joining the show. This is that show that never ever leaves you the same way. It's Mind Your Character. And how does it leave you? Definitely leaves you better than it met you. That's what we're signed up for on this show. If you followed Mind Your Character since when we're on radio, then you will know this to be the fact. Every time I turn here and there and people hear my name, they're like, oh, are you the one who hosted Mind Your Character on Inspiration TV? I'm like, yeah. Do you still host the show? Yes, I still do, but not on that radio and not via that radio station. So I'm going to allow this my energy boosting music to go. The volume will go down slightly, and then it will be time for me to welcome my guests. While I'm at that, I'd like to let you know that this series has a number of things for you. 2024 has come, right? It's already the 12th, like today, 12th day of the month of January 2024. And the amazing part of it is that we have all got goals, we've got aspirations, we've got resolution, whatever you call them, dreams, desires. One key factor to achieving it this year is people. People. How do you navigate different kind of people this year? How do you relate better? How do you crack the people code? So that's the series we're running, and we're bringing everyday people, the way I said last week, to talk to us about how they are managing people as staircases, as doors for them to get to where they're going. And my guest today is one who has, in a very good way, managed people. I'm going to bring up Mr. Lekon Otufodunrin, a media career specialist par excellence. I was privileged as a rookie journalist back then in the early 2000s to have been trained by his organization. And today, I'm celebrating him for so many great things that he has done, which includes this book. See? This is my copy of Our Punch Years, a book that I was privileged to co-author or contribute to. There were 38 journalists who are big shots that contributed to this book. And I have a few pages in this book that are my own stories of my journey as an employee at Punch newspapers, and how grateful I am that I had the privilege to go from school into that organization and come out of there doing what yours truly is doing today. So if you look at it very well, then it means I'm bringing on board someone who is being a part of my own success story. I'm also an embodiment of what people can make of you. Talk about clientele base, talk about a lot of things, talk about learning to relate with people. Now, when we're talking about relating better with people, are we saying that everybody will always be the nice persons you want? No. There'll be moments when you're meeting difficult people, people with adverse personalities, how do you navigate? What if you have a boss who never says thank you? What if you have a colleague who is greedy? What if you have a business partner who doesn't like to hear no? So many things. Would it stop you, or would you be able to manage them properly and still go ahead and become? What would you do? We're here learning, we're here inspiring, and it's time to say welcome to my guest. You are going to be putting your hands together. To one of my team members that is my oga, and I have not seen, what do you call it? What do they say that in English? I've not seen work in oil company. So that, I mean, give respect to whom it is due. So I have invited him and welcomed him to go live with him. And shortly we should have him. You should have him right on your screen, and we'll be able to go on. There are so many things to learn from today's show, just like we did learn from the first episode, where I had Mr. Oladimeji talking about his 10 years sojourn. The person I'm talking about today has been in the media career space for over 30 years. In fact, I'm not too sure now if it's not already 40. So you are looking at experience, not just education. You are looking at exposure. And okay, so I'm going to attempt to bring him again. Yes. We should have him on our screen very soon. But I'm saying that if you lose the people factor when it comes to winning this year, then you have lost something major. I can tell you. And here we have him.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Welcome so much.
Thank you. Nice to be here with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Without much ado, we will just kick the ball and get playing it. How have you been, sir? How's your year been so far?
Well, it's already, today I think it's 12/13, so the year is already, the month is already 1/3 of the month already, and it's rolling very well. I'm trying to catch up with my goals. Some of them I'm missing them, I'm trying to catch up with some of them already. It's a very fast year. Right, I think it's going to be a very fast year.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So I said to you a few questions to give structure to the conversation, and we're just going to get started.
Okay.
All right. It was such a great, I just showed everyone a copy of my book.
Okay. Yes. Our punch, yes.
Yes. And to my amazement, yesterday, you sent a brief to me about a book reading session taking place at the prestigious Nigerian Institute of Journalism, and particularly the senior class. Wow. And I was like, oh, this is massive. This is really massive. The book seems to be flying into every nook and cranny and having a great ride. I'm so very excited about it. And I must thank you publicly again for giving me the opportunity to co-contribute, to be a co-contributor to it. In addition to those massive big wigs, those my ogas, when they are talking, I just keep quiet and read off all their comments. I don't talk when they are talking. Thank you so much. And I must put on record here that it turned out that I am currently, let me brag a bit, currently I'm the only lady journalist. Even though in the media space you say there is no man, there is no woman. Anyway, but let me feel like I don't know that rule for now. I turned out the only reporter that got our entries and contribution in this. That's why I do call it first edition. I don't know whether Mr. Otufodun is thinking of the second edition or not, but yes. And the only other woman here is not a journalist, but she's a well-respected person as well. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for contributing.
To tell the story of how I was able to make this. So that makes me understand with those who might not have been able to make it at first. I already had my memoirs, I already had them on my laptop. I'd even published it in a book as far back as 2015. And so when you called for it, it was just a case of entering my folders and bringing it out. So that made it easy for me. I have learned to document my stories, and it's one of the biggest lessons for me. Seeing that, that helped me. Talking about readiness and talking about the character of getting set for the opportunities that you're expecting. So welcome once again, sir. I'm going to show the very first question.
Okay.
And it is still around this book. It is still around this book. So recently, we had this major book out. So voluminous. How were you able to get people to believe in this project setting out? I mean, because I need to learn from that. How are you able to get people to believe that this can come out? It looks to me like a lot of people keep thinking that it might end up on your laptop at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get people? Maybe you should start from how did you even get the fortitude yourself, one?
Okay.
Then how did you now carry people along?
Okay, so thank you. I want to begin by thanking you for this invitation. I do not take this opportunity for granted, and also want to acknowledge the support you gave for this book. So how did I get this idea? Like I've shared to people. Interestingly, it was just a Facebook post. I saw a Facebook post by my former editor, Mr. Ademiga Ogunleye. Facebook was reminding me of his birthday. And the moment I look at that, something clicked in my head. I've never heard anybody talk about how we serve in punch, so to say. So and one lesson I even learned from that was that listen to your intuition. Sometimes an idea is just coming. And when it came, I was a bit afraid about starting that kind of project. But one other way to ensure that you get the project is to tell the whole world that you want to do this so that they can hold you accountable. So that evening, I came online. I said, I have this idea. It's a crazy idea. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's see whether it's going to work. And when I look back at that post, so many people said, this is nice, we're going to contribute. And most of them did not contribute. So the first thing about, the first idea is that you have an idea, you put it out there so that you can be held accountable, and people can ask you.
You can't go back anymore.
You can't go back about it. And I must say that, in fact, yourself and one other person, even when I was a bit not pushing, came. I mean, so Kunle Awoshiyan, who was a photographer when he joined, I became an award winner. Yes, he sent his entry ready-made. And the moment I saw it, I said, wow. And when you sent yours, like you said, I knew that must have come from a well-prepared place. It came, and so there was no going back. So that is it. An idea came, I put it out there, and I had 2 entries already, and I had to run. So how did I get people interested?
Yeah.
Well, I think also it's also had to do with your antecedent. So that's why every day in our lives, we do things that people rate us. So when probably people saw that, okay, this is Otufori asking for this, based on his antecedent, it probably will mean well. So a number of people came on, and some other people even co-own the project. Some of my friends said, look, I'm going to reach out to people. So the moment more people than myself are reaching out, you know, and I reach out to people I've not reached out for a long time. Facebook, social media is an amazing platform where you can network. So I reach out to people, I inbox them, I send direct messages. I let them know that this is not about me, it's about all of us sharing something interesting. Yes. You could choose whatever you want to. So I think that make them see the value. Of course, not everybody did anyway. So that's what I want to say.
Amazing. I'm going to try and draw out the lessons from your first shot. The first one is that you had an antecedent, which I would like to call reputation. Reputation is huge in getting any project done. And our reputation resides in the minds of people. So people had a certain judgment in their minds about you. That must have to do with who you were. I'm coming to that. I mean, how did they form that? And it seemed like a majority of people had that. And you mentioned something, you said, the reputation is that this is coming from Leko Otufodiri. He must mean well. Wow.
That's massive. You cannot pay anything for that. Like, it's so huge. It's so huge. So I'm picking the first lesson when it has to do with people and achieving any goal in this year 2024. For those who are following us, you need to be sure that you've had a good antecedent. And I know some people might be saying, what if I've not had a good one? What can I do? Well, if time permits us, we'll come to that. But let's stay on that platform for now. So, sir, tell us about your person, how you cope with different kind of people. You know, people that some would like to call difficult people, or people with adverse, like when they show up, you know that they have a, not toxic right now, but they are just being themselves, but they are not wholesome the way you would think, or they are not the best of people to one's own mind. And I know that you've faced many of such people, because working in the newsroom could be compared to working in a major community, different tribes, different people who have studied different disciplines, now fused together in a melting pot called newsroom, trying to do just one thing: informing, educating, and communicating. How did you navigate? Do you know, sir, that on Facebook, I've seen many people that work with you jump out on Facebook and say, the best Oga ever, the best this ever, Oga Mito show. That speaks to something, and because this is mind your character, and this year I'm helping people to see that the people factor is crucial. Some people say that I don't mind what people think about me, I know who I am, and all of that. And we say, no, your reputation is forming gradually. It is going to be convertible sometime when you will need it. What have you prepared? So, sir, how? What are your strategies? Were they have they always been well planned out, or you just happen to find it to be so about you?
Well, okay, so the point is that we are all created differently. God has created us differently. And over the years, like you said, we have formed all kinds of character. And that's something that you have decided to project. So like you mentioned, so I mean, I started journalism in 1986, 87. So that's a long time that we've been doing this. And I think over the period of time, I've deliberately set out myself to be somebody who wants to be seen as somebody who cares. I think that's very, very important. I want to be that somebody who cares. So like you said, there are different kinds of people. There are nice people, there are forward-looking people, there are difficult people, and you must understand that people are different. So somebody may treat you nicely, another person will not treat you nicely. Interestingly, when I was thinking about this question, I need to mention that even being nice got me into trouble. At least twice when I was, yes, I once wrote an article that when I was in the Nation newspaper, the admin manager said, the compassionate editor, because he didn't think editors are normally compassionate. So it was like, I'm the kind of person who will come and beg for somebody even after that person has been penalized, so to say. So it depends, but you must find a good balance. That's what I learned from me. So people are different. So if you meet somebody, try and understand that person and see how you can meet that person halfway. If that person becomes too difficult for you to deal with, you need to move on. So I mean, for example, this book we are talking about, there are people who dismiss the idea from the beginning. There are people who didn't even acknowledge the message sent to them. There are people who told me, I mean, we have moved on. You know, so you must understand, you must admit that that is where they are. So it's not because they don't want to. They have moved on. So there are difficult people, but you must have your own goal and not allow difficult people to block you. But concede to them that that is their own reality and there's nothing you can do about it. But if you have your own goal clear out for you, then you know how to navigate. Difficult people will always be there. Even when you think you are not difficult, or people think you are also difficult. You know, because so it's a matter of where you are in life. So I think difficult people are reality. But like I said, even when you want to be nice, Yorùbá will say "Ore niwon." So even when you are nice, don't be too nice to get into trouble. You know, it's very important.
That's true, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Again, I'd like to draw the lessons because it's mind your character. We are supposed to juice it and be sure that people are not missing out. I heard you say that I deliberately meant it to be known as someone who is nice, cares, who cares. I had always wanted to be known as someone who cares. That's a major goal, sir. It's not the easiest of goals to have, because there will be people who will push it in your face and say, what's the big deal about caring? But for you to have had it as a goal and you were able to keep to it for all of life, in career and in life, it's massive. My lesson from there is that individuals must decide who they want to be, how they want to be perceived, knowing that the perception is creating a reputation, which in the long run will describe you, the way people will describe their meeting you, the value you bring, and it's so huge. I think that a lot of people are missing out on the power of character in the days that we live in. And it's so interesting to hear a story from you. Something else you said is that there will always be difficult people. I need people of my generation to let that sink in. There will always be difficult, and they have their reasons for being difficult. You can never tell. It could be an experience, it could be something. They might not even know that they are being difficult. They might even be helpless. Like they wish they couldn't be difficult, but they don't know how to get out of it. So you don't have the details, but there's someone you have power over, and that is you. So you make up your mind on how you want to relate with them. And if you cannot help them, if you cannot meet them halfway, then move on. If you cannot meet them, try your best to meet them halfway. But if it becomes impossible, learn to move on and achieve your goals. I am learning a whole deal today, and I hope that everyone who is following and who will catch up with this, they are learning as well. Now, let us talk about your personal values. Apart from a caring person, and you know, they said caring editor, empathetic editor, and all that. What other qualities? What other qualities? Quite a lot of people have described you as a good people manager. Like, people love to work with you. People feel they are safe with you, and you have carried that on for so long. And I believe it has also helped in bringing this project of the book Our Punchy Years to life. If you were to talk like a self-aware person, that look, when it comes to describing me, 3 qualities, I will just say top 3, because I know there can be so many of them. What values do you uphold? What qualities best describe you? In addition to, I know that the fact that you care stands out, and you had mentioned that, but what other things? And how important is it for people to position?
So, talking about, well, I'm not sure in what order, but I think, for example, that one value I hold, that to be truthful and faithful. People want to be sure of what kind of person. So I try to be very truthful in my dealings with people. I try to be very faithful to agreement, to expectations. You know, I try to do that a lot. I've mentioned that I'm being caring. I let people know my faith. That is also very, very important to me. And that does not stop me from relating with people, even if they don't share my faith, because the principles of my faith makes me accountable to the kind of person I am in dealing with people. So I like to be, I like being truthful. I like being faithful in our dealings with people. People should be able to trust you and say, if it's this person, it will be. You can bank on this person. I think that helps a lot. And we are talking about positioning yourself. It's very, very important. Life throws all kinds of people in our way, and except people want to be sure the kind of person they are dealing with. People want to know that, okay, this person, I can trust this person. When he promises me, we will do this, you know, and even if he can't do it, you know, he will try his best. So I think those are the principles that I try. Like I said, even as I'm compassionate, I'm also learning that you need to be very firm with people. That's also very important. You have to be very firm, because I've also learned sometimes from last hard lesson. Sometimes I've been very caring, but I think I have indulged people. And I think it's not good to overindulge people. Sometimes when people get things so easily, they think, so when they measure you're indulging them with other people who are trying to be very firm with them. So it's not helpful to them. So I try to find that right balance. I think those are very, very important. But life positioning yourself is very, very important, because when people know for you, for example, as a professional, I projected myself as a media career development person. You know, I don't know, I can share this. I went to a seminar, and that's why learning is very important. Somebody said, promote yourself in a way that even let people know that this is what you do. So over time, I've positioned myself as a media career development person, somebody who is
Yes.
interested in career development. And so things come my way because that's what I am. And people know that, okay, this is this person. And even if you go on Google, somebody said, be the expert until Google say you are. I went on Google, I did that, and if you type media career development on Google, I want to assure you that my name or my company will come like one of the top 3, because
Wow.
I learned that from a seminar, and I consciously do that. I don't try to dabble into things, just like you do character development, you know, I try
Yes.
to position that, and that also affects my other thing. Although some people say everything about this journalism is media, I said it's a safe space for me.
Wow, 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 wow. We have learned about truthfulness, faithfulness, and I know that when people trust you, they can go the journey with you, and they will
Yes,
feel comfortable, they'll feel relaxed. They are not
yeah.
scared about what could go wrong. That's a major one. I know trust has become very scarce today. So it means that, and then if we follow the law of demand and supply, if trust is becoming very scarce, it means that trustworthy people will become very, very prized. They'll become highly prized because there are no so many people like them out there. People just need to be sure, like my guest said, that about who they are dealing with. No hanky-pankies, not bearing of two faces, just being straight. And sir, the thing you said about overindulging people, I think I learned it earlier, and I'm happy about it. Because again, I am the type that could have been in your shoes. I know you don't have the time to tell all the stories that you have whipped into that sentence. But I learned early about being fair and being firm. So right now, when people are talking about their styles of leadership, I just say that my style of leadership is to be fair and to be firm. So I can be as fair as fairness can be, and I can be as firm as rock solid firmness can be. At the end of the day, I am extra conscious of people who want to take undue advantage of my fairness. And the moment I notice that or sense that, I'm able to build a protective grip around that space of life so that I don't become disadvantaged in what should be an advantage, because a good character, a sound character should be an advantage. It should at no point be a disadvantage. When I take this class, I do say to people that it's like drawing a linear graph where you have the negative and the positive side. From the 0 point in the middle, if you move continuously towards the positive side, you are all good. But the moment that thing or the factors around it begin to move towards negative, you need to restructure and bring it back. So I'm glad, sir, that you were able to put that out, because it's one of the fundamental lessons people must learn this year, that you can't change people most of the time. You can make attempts, you can try to meet them halfway, but if you cannot, know that you are not their, you're probably not their parents. You can't make them, you can't make them become what you want just because you think they should be. And that includes people at work, sometimes people at home. There are families where extended family members are like a thorn in some people's neck. And so you just have to look for the coping mechanisms to live life in such a way that you are not depressing yourself to impress others. So yes, that was massive, sir. Thank you so much. So I want to ask you, for people in career, because you are into career development, and I must say that from when I joined Punch in year 2000, and had the first training that I had to come to. I was trying to catch up. I can be very good with keeping records in installments. I learned that from Dr. David Oyedepo. Each time he stands up and he says, on the 18th of this, God said this, at this so minutes. I think there was a day I sat down and said, how does he read out this? And I found out I must be that he records them on the spur of the moment. Anything you record, you don't need to remember. Just refer. So I came with that line of life. It's one of my principles. Just record it. You won't need to remember it. You just need to refer to it. And referring to it is easier than racking your head to remember at the point where you need anything. And that has been massive. So I'm saying that for career people this year, what advice further can you give when it comes to relating with people in order to win in the year 2024? I don't know, you might wish to benchmark this within the media space, is fine, because you are a mentor to so many of us younger journalists. And I know you still play that mentorship role till now and maybe forever. And what would you be saying? You can pick specifics. For instance, sir, let me let you know that once I left Punch, there were a few things I wouldn't do as a Punch staff member. I can't remember if I wrote them in that story. And because even the organization doesn't allow it. So I happen to have been someone who loves to be forthright, and Punch gave me a very comfortable platform to be a forthright person. No one was pressuring you to go and do anything absurd or out of form. So yes, I'm that journalist who will never blackmail. I'm that journalist who respects my news source and insists on being respected. It doesn't matter how brief my stature has always been or how tiny I've always been. I try to stay on that line of professionalism. Great. And so by the time I left Punch 14 years after, everything I needed to start the business, the idea that had dropped divinely on my heart, I could find new sources who had become like big brothers, big sisters saying, oh, you said you left Punch, what are you doing now? I'm into this. And when I needed someone to come on any show that I'm hosting, it was just a call. I would like you to feature on blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, what's it for you? No problem, no problem. So, sir, are people not missing out when today they say no grief for anybody? And I'm saying no grief for anybody. Let's be sure that we know what we are saying. I agree that you should not grieve for anyone who wants to downtrod you. You should not grieve for anybody who wants to stop you, but not in the sense of being rude, being out of character. So how would you advise young professionals who might come across this video on managing people? You called it an enabler when properly managed. Tell us from your own experience.
Thank you. I think you strike the chord when you talk about, so this is a new year. Whatever we did in 2023 is still not far off. So I think the starting point, if we have not done that, is to take a stock of what we did in. You know, sometimes some of us are afraid of even taking stock of what we have done. Yes. We don't want to see our failure. So it's important that even though this is January 12 or whatever, 13, still look back. Be fair. I mean, be very fair to what you have done. Ask yourself, have I been faithful to what I set out to do? So that you can benchmark 2024. You can set out your priorities. Sometimes you went into too many things in the last or previous time. Being focused is something that is also very, very important. There's always a temptation to want to do so many things. I think it's important to be focused. I think it's important to find your tribe, like they say, people who can help you, people who you can network with. The thing that you need to can get you to where you are going is very, very important. It will cost you learning. It will cost you unlearning. It will cost you stopping something that you used to do that you should not do again. Those things are very, very important. It may look as if you have made some progress. Like you mentioned, Bishop Oyedepo is also somebody that has also influenced my life a lot. You know, he said you can't, I mean, if you are going in the wrong direction, there's no point going. You have to come back. So some of us are going in the wrong direction. We need to come back. We need to find where we really should be and push in that direction. And I think that has helped me a lot. Sometimes people think it's narrow, but I found it. So people have that project that people have asked me to do, and I say, look, sorry, it's not something I really want to. I even want to recommend somebody. So my advice in 2024 is an opportunity to review what we have done, to unlearn, to scale down and prioritize. Prioritize what works for you. And like you said, value people. Just as you want people to help you, also help. Help is not about money, it's about being available. It's about just offering. So sometimes something just occurred to me and I just share it on Twitter. And some people say, this is nice, this is nice. So help is very, very important. If you want help, you must also be available to help people in your own little way and be available. So like when we are doing this group project, there are people who reach out to say, what can I do? And it's important. Some of my friends reach out to people I couldn't reach out to. So that's why I'm laughing when some people say I didn't reach out to them. I said, look, left with me, I will probably not have reached as many people. Some people went out of their way to reach out people. Some people offer to read. When we are planning, like you are trying to help with the launch and things like that. So it's important. There's always something you can offer, even if it's not money. And that can help. People will remember the help that you offer in one little way or the other, or the advice you gave, or the time you spare helping people. Sometimes people reach out to me to write references for them. It takes a lot of energy to write a good reference. So you write it, and today I sit down and I was telling my wife, I shared something on Twitter. I said, just be good. Good will come. The beginning of this year, even as I'm sitting down, people reach out to say, Mr. Odin, we have this project. We know you can be busy. Will you be able to be part of it? And I'm like, why? What am I? That's what I'm signing out for. So, quote and unquote, business has come my way because of the things I've done in the past. People will always remember that, yes, this person is available for us and we can sign it in. I think that's very, very important. But have your priorities and do your best to stay within the things that you have the capacity to do. Very, very important.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. But I'm worried. I'm worried because today, focus is becoming more difficult because of the pressure to catch up with, to catch up economically, so to speak. For instance, someone might not want to stay on the media career development saddle for the number of years that you have, because they feel that cash, you hear something like cash flow is king, so you want to quickly go and do so many other things to ensure that you keep body and soul together to feed family. So in view of economic strain that is absolutely visible and palpable, how do people help themselves stay focused on something that you know is your line? Or is there a way to quickly dash off, do something out there and not related, and jump back inside? How did you navigate those moments? Would you say that staying on this lane always gave you all you needed to keep family? I'm aware that you have raised children that are doing very well. There are adults that you have raised, married. Would you say that there were no moments when you actually felt, wouldn't there be something that could bring in money in a bigger and faster way?
Okay, so I think the thing is to understand what we are talking about. When you say you are focused, that means number one, because before you become focused, you must take time to be sure that this is really where your strength is. And when you know that's your strength, your ability to expand it will depend on how focused you are. So what has happened to me is that when I left the Nation newspaper, the people assumed that I was going to set up an online platform of my own, which is the Vogue. But because that was not what I wanted to, there were people who put out money to say, look, this will be good. I said, no, I want to do media career. I know it can be hard, but I know that if I sit down and expand it, vision can be expanded. And that's what I realized. The more you think about one little thing, the more you see the various perspectives. So, for example, I'm doing media career. People say to me, how do you make money? And I'm saying, look, it's because I know what I'm doing. So, number one, for example, I have a website where I'm telling people this is what I do. Number one, people must know enough about this is what you do. You break it down. So I remember when you started your own organization, and I called you to say, you said for profit, and you said, I said it's not for profit. You said, no, sir, it is for profit, because
Yes,
you knew
sir.
what you wanted to do, you know. So I knew what I wanted to do, and I read up a lot about it. I researched, you know, to see best practice, to see what people have done, to develop products, to develop services in that area. Because if you don't develop services, you run out of ideas
Yes.
and products. So, I mean, I can say this because I do media career and I keep pushing it in people's faces. People are beginning to write me into their own project. You know, people do a project and like before, when people do media training for people, they just do training. But I've been able to let them know that you need somebody to hold down the hands of people who are being trained so that they can remain on that line. And here I have come. Before now, people talk about I'm a media trainer, and I'm saying, look, I'm a career development specialist. So sometimes people, I mean, there are times at the beginning of the year, I mean, I can say this to God be the glory. Last year, somebody signed me into a contract that what I was paid throughout every month last year for mentoring for mentoring journalists was more than twice what I was earning as an editor. But that was not apparent initially. But because I'm able to say, look, this is what I do. And when I go out, I let people get value for what I do. I go to a training, I let people know that you are going to get this training, but you need to maximize it. So your product, your services, you know, the best practice that you can find will be that's what will sustain you. There will be downtime, like you said. There will be downtime. But those downtimes are times where you can refocus, but not to go too out. There will be things. So I'm not doing everyday journalism, but I'm writing a column in the Nation every Sunday. Interestingly, I'm not paid for that column I write, but I know that that is a value that I can do. I do teach at NIG and some other places. If it's for the money, it's not big. But those things
So we
also
need to bring character development to NIG.
Yes, yes, we will.
For media professionals.
They were really impressed. I mean, the students were really impressed when they read your story, you know. And I've also shared, like, for example, so the thing you do as journalists, we can. So the thing is about whatever you decide. I mean, there's this man, he died recently, late Akimbola John. He was doing church growth services.
Church growth, yes.
That man indirectly taught me. He said, look, when he started church growth, people said, what is church growth? But he developed that line of services. He published so many books. He organized so many conferences. The problem is that we are not able to unfold the various ramifications of the things that we are focusing on. If we do that, it will be sufficient. The other side thing that you can do will not be distracting. I think that is the important thing, because there are everything that we say we focus on, there's a way to expand it, and that is the thing. Expand those things. You know, we wrote this book, for example. It's a part of for media development.
Development, yeah.
It's how you define it, how you draw the parallel. That will be very, very important. There will be downtime, like I keep saying, but you must prepare for that. You must also save as you are making money, so that when there is downtime, you can use it for some other things. There will be times when you volunteer for other space, you know, and it will come back in a way. So that, I mean, most of the clientele I get today are people who I have done quote unquote things free for in the past. Young people who I have come their way and they're in position to say, look, Mr. Otipone can do this. It's very, very important. Every day we build. So it's not until you retire, for example, in my own case, you know, if you didn't prepare for it, if you didn't focus, if people don't know that you have the capacity to do this. When I write online, I'm writing for people to know that I have this knowledge about this. So when it's time to look for somebody, they come for me. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. A line from what you said, there'll be downtimes, but downtimes can be used for refocusing. You can use it to refocus, and whatever you look at continuously gets magnified. So you can expand by looking at it intently, by focusing on it. And if you must do something else, make sure it's still within the space of what you are doing so that you don't knock yourself out of it. I can relate with everything you are saying, sir. Talking about downtime, talking about people asking questions around which one is character development. Is it an NGO? I'm like, no, it's not an NGO. It's a full-fledged business. And today we have clients in corporate organizations, we have clients in schools, we have clients in churches, we have clients just about anywhere where there are human beings who want to be better versions of themselves. It's a big market. And like you said, we are still unbundling it, one wrap after the other. It's massive, massive, massive. And there's something else you said that I think that journalists like me, I didn't learn a lot of this earlier. You see, money comes to the hands of journalists one way or the other. Even as a journalist who likes to be straightforward, people out of goodwill gave me a lot of things. By doing your job well, people wanted to plow back into your life. But you see, the thing you said about save when you are making money, I don't want you to just go in passing. I want to make it settle in. Because of downtimes that will come, when you're making money, save. So that when the downtimes come, you can survive till the time of bumper harvest shows up again. It's very massive, and coming from someone who has put in so many years, we must listen when people like you are talking. What do you do in expanding? Create products, develop services, have something that is value in exchange, and make it creative. Because if it's too laid by or laid back, nobody will want to put their money inside of it. Amazing, 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 amazing. Wow. Then, okay. I wanted you to speak to something for the final moments on today's chat, and that has to do with the media profession and journalists learning to know that there are other things they can do. I remember there was a time you asked me, I think it was a piece you asked me to write, and you had it on your website or one of your platforms, talking about how to find other things to do. I thought that for being people in this community, we shouldn't leave these charts without leaving that, putting that on record. You are into media development, career development generally. You have given yourself a foothold when it comes to media career development. How did you begin to know that you could even be this? What could people look out for that could give you that green light that, oh, this could be an aspect you could major on as you are pulling out? So that in media, we cease to have people who have used all of their lives to work in a media organization, but cannot hold things together by themselves. I'm not saying that everyone must be an entrepreneur. I'm not saying everyone will set up an outfit, but even in terms of investment and all, talking about garnering passive income, a lot of journalists still today still do not understand that the fact that those monies come in piecemeal, today there's an envelope, tomorrow there's a goodwill, the next day there's an handshake. They do not understand that those trickles could amount to so much in the hands of a deliberate person. So, sir, what would be your counsel to our people, both old and young?
So before I give my counsel, I can see Professor Abiodun Salawu. I saw him on the call. Wow. He's one of the contributors, a professor of mass comm in South Africa. He was one of the contributors to the Punch, yes. So I just want to acknowledge his presence and some other people. So talking about, for example, how did I become a media career development person? Yes. So, I mean, I really pick up that idea when I went to Thompson Foundation somewhere in UK while I was in Punch. And that's also important because every opportunity we get in life may be something setting us up for what we are going to become. So I've been used for journalism, just being a journalist, but I went to a training where some people were just doing training for people. They have an organization. So I came back. I was doing it along with my job, but that was an aha moment, what you call an aha moment. And it's very interesting. So I met a young lady who studied education, and she said she's a job solution specialist. I was curious. There was a way she defined a job that really struck me. She said she's a job solution specialist. She had education, but she set herself up in that line. Her Twitter name is Ronke Employment. You see how people brand themselves around what they do.
Yes,
so that day, I sat down and I said, look, so Lekon, what really do you do? And I came up with the idea that, okay, I want to help people to grow their career. I want to help them develop their career. So that day, I actually came up with that same thing. I'm a media career development specialist. In fact, I searched online for it. I didn't see. Most of the time, I see people say they are media trainer.
Yes.
And so I said, so this is what I want to do. So that's how I came up with that idea. And I kept researching, looking at what people are doing so that I can focus it. So my advice is that, like you said, as journalists, as professionals, because I'm seeing different people. I'm seeing Pastor Falodun. He's also a pastor from the US. He's also one of our friends, and these are people I've also seen who have done tremendous things. So whatever you do, so I know that at a point I'm going to move on from being a journalist. So I was also preparing. I wrote about when I left the nation. By God's grace, I had an office already before I left the nation. So I was already experimenting. This thing is not something that you just resign and just go into. I was already experimenting, so I was preparing for that. I was going to seminars and workshops. I was learning from people. I also knew that there would come a time when I would cease to be a journalist. So, for example, I always joke that when you are an editor, for example, at the end of the year, people will bring hampers for you, bags of rice, the whole place will be filled up. And when I was an editor, I made it a policy to give out majority of those things. Why? Because I tell my wife, they are giving because of my position, not because of my person. So if you overindulge yourself. So it's important that you prepare for times when you are going to move on. But begin to think through, what can I do? Who has done this? Who can I learn from? Pastor Sam Adeyemi says, look, people give to services, people give to benefit they can benefit from. Not just give you money. So that is what we have done. But so my advice to journalists and any professional is that try and understand the larger ramification of what you do. Some of us are focusing narrowly. So you are a journalist. Writing is not the only thing. Even in writing, it's not about just writing for newspaper. It's about doing other things. Documentary, book. Even there are people who live on book writing. And sometimes I'm amazed about how much skill journalists have that we don't. I remember when Punch was shut down for a year, somebody asked me, said, what else do you do apart from writing? I didn't have any clue. So it's important to just expand your thoughts, and also sometimes brainstorm with people to see how you can do those kind of things. And if you do that, like you said, we don't want a situation where you are a journalist, say you are a veteran journalist, and people are looking at you with pity. That has not happened to me because by God's grace, I saw it coming, and I didn't want to end up like that. And I'm learning more skills. I'm learning that, for example, we have produced a book. It's not enough to launch a book. You need to market the book. How do you market?
I'm challenged by your marketing moves. I'm really challenged.
So I'm marketing, and I'm seeing people, just those small things are bringing more people, to want to buy. So I'm learning. So many journalists know how to just publish. They don't know how to market. We need to learn those skills, and new skills are changing. I've learned that things my children have taught me, that things I've learned outside. So surviving in this new age is not as easy for those of us who are old. So whether you're a journalist, whatever you do, it's something that you must be intentional about so that you can be suitable for now. But more importantly, God has been faithful. I want to say that God has been faithful, and I'm always grateful for that. There have been times when you are hard put, but God has brought opportunities my way, and I'm really thankful for what God has done in my life.
Wow, it's an amazing ride for about 1 hour already, and I have learned a whole lot. The last thing I heard there is about being intentional. Why should we be intentional as journalists? Because we have a very, very, what do you call it now, jealous profession that can take the entire brain, take the entire time. If you are not careful, you will not stop to think about you. You will not stop to think about your future. It is possible to get caught up in that web. I know what I'm saying, because you are trying to ask yourself, what's the next thing? It's a case where it's a rat race. You are trying to fill the paper every day. And if you work in a place like I did and he did at a point in time, there's always so much to do. And you could just find out that you have done 20 years and you have not planned you. And you is what you're going to have at the end of the day. You are not going to have the job forever. So this is coming from someone who God has graced and helped not to make the errors that those ahead of him made. And I'm so very, very grateful to what God has done, for what God has done with you, sir. Thank you so very, very much, sir. I'd like to let you go now. Yes. It's been a very beautiful ride, and this is going to be something to keep for a very long time and for people to benefit from. Thank you so very much for choosing to be on this for me. I hope that every time I call you again, I will have you, because there's so much to learn from you. One of the things to do when you see a resourceful person is to share platforms with them as many times as possible, because you are making the world a better place by helping them flow out to the world around them. Thank you so very much, sir. And thank you to everyone who has joined. I'll just let you go now. Thank you. Yes. So if you don't have a copy of this, just reach out to me. I will get it. I'll let you know how you can get a copy. And I also have my latest book here. This is my 6th book. He said that some people live on books. Yes, it's one of the ways I want to live life as I get older. Live on books. Like the John Maxwell's of this world, live on books. Those days, I'll just go and talk for 15 minutes, and then there'll be this fact check. I'll be talking for long like I'm doing now, but the books will be doing the talking. It takes a lot of commitment to write and to put good quality content together. So this is imperative of sustainable leadership reputation. Leadership reputation is a conversation we must begin to have and get. I mean, today somebody is minister, the next day they are in the web of another, and you're just wondering what's happening. So we must prepare for our reputation not to be tainted. Mr. Otufoduri here is a testimonial to the fact that reputation, when it is good, it does pay for all times. Thank you so much, everyone. I wish I could just go round and call everybody's name out and say thank you, thank you, thank you, but I will not be able to do that. I'm going to have another phenomenal guest on Friday. It's still the series where we're learning to crack the people code to win in 2024. And we are interviewing and learning from everyday people like you and I. We might not be bringing the names you will see everywhere, but you are going to definitely be going away with a value-packed life. Yes. So thank you so much. It's been Mind Your Character with Olusola-Obasa. I'll see you all on this platform on Friday, 5 p.m. If you're joining this for the first time and you're joining because of my guest, please make it a date every Friday. This is how valuable it gets, and it can get even bigger in terms of value. Thank you again, sir. I'm so honored to have you. And it's time to say the goodbyes. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend, guys. Let this music escort you as you're going home. Bye now. Cheers.